welcome to the Art of Being Human. I'm just going to show my chart that I have done earlier. I'm going to start off with that, showing where we are. We've been talking about the development of the human being from before birth, from conception until death, and I want to show you where we are on this chart, just to show you how this class is developing. So if you just want to take a look at the chart here, the growth stages after birth, and this is what we're focusing on, although I did go into conception and birth and the birth process a little bit. We have covered the neonate, the first month, in which the baby is just trying to survive. Then infancy, that goes from the end of the first month until the 15th or 16th month. We've covered that. The toddler, we've pretty much covered that, and now we're pretty much at the preschool period. And this goes from ages 2.5 years to about 6 years, and there's an incredible amount of development that occurs in this time period. Then when we get into the childhood period, which won't be for a while yet, that's from age 6 to 12 years, and you have early, middle, and late childhood. The early it will be from, will be like from 6 years to 7 or 8 years, and then you get up to adolescence, which will be an age 12 to 20 years, and then you get into adulthood, which I'm going to be talking about later on. And there are 3 stages to adulthood: 20 to 35, 35 to 50, and 50 to old age, 50 to 65, and then old age from 65 and on up. So we're here in this preschool period and childhood period. I'm going to be kind of talking about them together, and this is where we are. And then after that, we'll hit adolescence. So I just want to show you where we are in terms of what we're doing. And the reason I want to do this is the fact that every age period has its own unique problems, and in order to be healthy, you have to solve each problem for each age as it comes up. And if you don't, then that problem that was not solved or not resolved properly will continue to haunt you as the years go by. So let me give you some information about childhood. It goes from toddler to preschool, and then in childhood, entering the first grade. 6 years old is the usual age in which children go into first grade. Now at this time, at this time, children lose their fat pads around their cheeks, and so they lose that baby look that they have earlier, and they lose their front teeth. You have 3 subdivisions in childhood. You have early childhood, which is, if you're looking at the school ages, goes from grades 1 through 3. Then the middle child, which goes from age 4 to 6. And then late childhood, which goes from age 7 to 9. Grade 7 to 9. So therefore, you end up this childhood period around the beginning of junior high. Okay, so children go into school at about age 6, and it's a good age to start school because they're curious, they want to learn, they love to learn, they love to play games, they love their teachers. They usually, if they're healthy, they love everything about school. They can't wait to get there. You know, I'm 80 years old, and I look at these young children going to school, and I'm thinking, if only they realized how many years they're going to be in school. Would they get discouraged? Well, they don't. They love to learn. They love to go. And they think of it as it's their job. It's what they do. They go to school, and they love it. And when they get out during the summer, they just want to get back into it when it comes fall. They're bored by the end of summer. I think summer vacations are way too long for children. I think they can learn a lot during the summer. I don't think they should have a full summer off. I think by the time they get to the end of August, then, they are just kind of waiting around, just wasting time when they should be in school. Okay, now, what happens at this age in childhood? Boys and girls do not like each other. Excuse me 1 minute. Excuse me. Boys and girls don't like each other. What's the reason for that? If you talk to a child, a little girl, say she's about 8 or 10 years old, let's say she's 10 or 11, what she's going to say is, I can't stand boys, they're so immature. Well, they are. And the reason for that is that girls develop about 2 years faster than boys do. So girls will be 2 years in advance and boys will be 2 years behind. That's just the way it is. A 10-year-old child will say, I don't like boys, but they're operating like a 12-year-old. A 10-year-old boy will be operating like an 8-year-old. There's a 2-year discrepancy. Girls are definitely developing 2 years ahead of boys. Now, the boys are going to catch up, but they're not going to catch up until their teen years when it starts to level off. So girls develop first. At 6 years old, the average size of a child is about 3.5 feet tall. At age 11, the boys, or the sixth graders, they're about 5 feet tall. And in eighth grade, 13 years old, the girls are about 5 feet tall. So the boys may be growing physically faster than the girls, but in terms of mental development, the girls develop faster than the boys do. The weight doubles from 40 pounds to 80 pounds, and the head grows the fastest, and the face looks lean. And if you look at children, when their second teeth are coming in, the teeth look too big for the face. But then as they grow and their heads develop, it all becomes balanced out like it should. Now, there's a lot of group play. Children back away from their parents and they want to start groups. They want to be in groups. They want to be accepted by groups. And this is where this group mentality starts. It starts in young childhood. They're not so much interested in their parents, they're interested in their friends. This is the way it is for all children. And the children love the sports they're in, and they want to be independent of their parents, and they love their games and the chants and everything that they're doing. So let me go on from here. They have secret societies in which girls talk about boys. I want to read something to you because it's kind of funny in a way. This is 9 and 10-year-old girls, and they're talking about the rules of how they should behave. Now, you got to remember the mentality of a 10-year-old is not the mentality of an adult. Just keep that in mind. This is the rules of 10-year-old girls in the society or club that they formed. Do not tell a white lie unless necessary. I mean, if you need to, go ahead, but don't do it otherwise. Do not hurt anyone in any way. Do not hit anyone except Ronnie. You're going to wonder who Ronnie is by the time I finish this. Do not tell a black lie. Do not use words worse than brat. Do not curse at all. Do not make faces, except at Ronnie. Do not be selfish. Do not make a hog or a pig of yourself. Do not tattle, except on Ronnie. Do not steal, except from Ronnie. Do not destroy other people's property, except Ronnie's. Do not be a sneak. Do not be grumpy except to Ronnie. Do not answer back except to Ronnie. Now, who's Ronnie? Ronnie is the scapegoat of that group of girls. In other words, they don't like boys, but they got to focus on something. So Ronnie is the one that's being focused on. Who knows what he's done? Who knows what's happened? Maybe he called a girl a name and they didn't like it. Who knows what happened? There's no way of knowing. But they have to have that focus of something they're against. What happens if you're against something? You solidify who's for, and you become a part of who's for something, and you're all against the same thing, and that draws the group together and helps to maintain the group. Why is it that in periods of history, those who are persecuted, they come out strong? Because now they're in a unit. They're depending upon each other. They're liking each other. They're helping each other against the common enemy. And we can explain, I think, a lot of things in history as them against us or us against somebody else, because when you're against something, you will join forces with other people who are against the same thing that you're against. Now, in children, you can see it here. We don't like Ronnie, so we're going to pick on Ronnie. Don't lie unless you have to, but don't squeal on anybody unless it's Ronnie. Don't say bad things about people unless it's Ronnie. Ronnie becomes the scapegoat of what they don't like. Now, I don't know if there's any bullying going on, if they're bullying Ronnie, or this is just something between themselves that they talk about. But it makes the group that they're in more cohesive because they have the common enemy. And the common enemy is Ronnie, whoever he is. But if you look at society, doesn't that happen all over society? We don't like this or the group, or we don't like that group, or we're going to stay away from these people because they're not like us. We are right, they are wrong. And it gets down to individual behavior, too. I was talking with a friend of mine. We were going out to lunch. And I talked about, when we were at lunch, one of my friends who's a piano teacher came over and talked to us. And I was spending time talking to him as well as talking to my friend. So he was kind of joining in on the conversation. Then he left to have his lunch, and I paid more attention to my friend as we were having our lunch, and she was upset. And I says, "What's the matter?" And she says, "Well, we don't talk to people like him." I says, "What do you mean, we don't talk to people like him?" "Well, he's not like us, you know." And she had formed an image of him that was different, and so therefore stay away from what you don't like and make it up in your mind. Why can't we just like everybody? I had no problems with the piano teacher. We were friends. But I was taking attention away from her to talk to him because he'd come over to our table to talk to me. And I wasn't going to ignore him, and he wasn't there long. But she was offended by that, and she decided, no, we don't talk to people like him. Well, what's wrong with him? There wasn't anything wrong with him. So this is what we have to do. This is the beginning of group behavior and deciding who is worthy to be in the group and who is not worthy to be in the group, and setting up boundaries. I don't like a person of a certain race. Why? Well, there's no legitimate reason why, so I'll make one up. I don't like them because, well, they're too short, or they're too tall, or they have the wrong colored hair, or they wear a beard or something. I decide I don't like people, and so if they fit into the category of who I don't like, then I will solidify myself with people who also don't like them. And you get these groups in society, you know. So therefore, you create your enemy, and sometimes there is an enemy, and I'm not denying that, but in your own mind, you create an enemy, and you don't want to go along with anything that they do or say. You want to be by yourself with your group, and, you know, they're just out of the picture. But it gives you a reason not to like a group, because it solidifies your need to be with a group. The group that you are with will be against that person or that other group. So you can see how hate develops. I'm not saying it's the only reason, and I'm not saying it's the only cause, and I'm not saying that this is what happens in every single case. But sometimes we decide we're not going to like people because they're not like us, they're different. And when you get to know them, they're really not different, because all people are pretty much alike. So I just want to kind of mention that. So let me go on from here. These children get to be quite superstitious. Like, don't walk under a ladder, count by 5s or 10s. Don't step on sidewalk cracks, or step on all sidewalk cracks. They like jokes and riddles. I'm going to tell you one now. Why does the chicken lay an egg in the middle of the street? Well, think about it. Why does a chicken lay an egg in the middle of the street? He wants to lay it on the line. Haven't you heard that expression? I'm going to lay it on the line. That's a joke. Why does a fireman wear red suspenders? To keep his pants up. has nothing to do with the color red, but red is injected into the story because he's a fireman and he's wearing red suspenders. Now, to a 10-year-old, this is hilarious. Why does a chicken cross the road to get on the other side? And now, if you are with children, their humor, there is a pattern and a growth and development to their artistic nature, to their humor. Everything is according to a developmental pattern. If I have a chance, I'm going to go into children's art and what it means, and how they develop artistically. But they develop in terms of their jokes, in terms of everything about them. They just do everything developmentally. They like physical skills. They like to hop on one foot. They like to do somersaults. And when they learn a skill, they do it over and over and over again. They practice it. To them, it's fun. But this is a part of their development. You have to realize that. They like to make collections of things, like, for example, collecting chewing gum wrappers or something like that. They like dolls, horses, elephants. They collect string. All of these things prove to a child that they belong in the group. The whole emphasis of childhood is that they have to belong to a group. That's why girls don't like boys, partly because they're developmentally superior at this point to boys, and partly because they have to have the common thing that they don't like, and that draws them together into a cohesive group of what they do like. They like each other. They have to be in a group. There's a group mentality, and we continue that through our adulthood as well. In a sense, the group is their fortress against the world. So parents feel at this point that they're losing control over their children because children dislike members of the opposite sex. Children don't like this. They're drawing away from their parents. They don't want to pay attention to their parents. It's the group that's the almighty, the most important thing in their lives is to have that group. Now, this is important to understand. It's natural. There's nothing wrong in it, in the sense, but if it gets to the point where they decide they're going to hate all people of a certain color or a certain eye color, then you have to step in and redirect them. But it is very normal for children to want to be focused on groups because this is a part of their development. All children do it. There's nothing wrong with it. You just want to make sure that they do it in a healthy way. And girls are role-playing adults. As they grow up, they're role-playing adults, and they think of themselves as being adults while they're still pretty young. So let me go on. I think I'm going to okay, here's a poem I want to read, and I'll close with it. It's about a child. If you think of it, it's about a child talking to their parents as an adult as to what they are like and how they're going to be when they grow up. It's kind of a nice poem. I found it on the internet. I have no idea who wrote it, but this is a poem, and I'll close with it. I won't always cry, Mommy, when you leave the room, and my supermarket tantrums will end too soon. I won't always wake Daddy for cuddles through the night, and one day you'll miss having a chocolate face to wipe. You won't always wake to find my foot is kicking you out of bed, or find me sideways on your pillow where you want to lay your head. You won't always have to carry me in a sleep from the car or piggy bank me down the road when my little legs can't walk that far. So cherish every cuddle, remember them all, because one day, Mommy, I won't be this small. So I'm going to close with that, and we're going to continue next time on what children think about God, and we're going to just work on up through until an older age in childhood period. So we'll close it here. Please join me next time.